Hello and welcome to a post-game edition of the Cyclone Insider podcast and live stream. I'm Travis Hines. He's Randy Peterson, coming to you after Iowa State's 10-9 loss Saturday evening at Jack Trice Stadium to number 25 Kansas State. The Cyclones go the entire game with just 3 Jace Gilbert field goals, no touchdowns, no offensive trips deeper than the 18-yard line of Kansas State, as they lose for the third game in a row to now be 0-3 in the Big 12 after that 3-0 start that had, I think, a lot of people excited about what this team could be, about what it already was, and where the ceiling might be going forward. But Randy, I think that start has been exposed for what it was. 2 wins over not very good teams in SEMO and Ohio, and a win over Iowa, which is probably the worst, certainly the worst offense in Power 5 and among the worst offenses in the entire country, which is to say that 3-0 win was probably not as impressive or as much evidence of anything other than their opponents. And now Iowa State 0-3 to start the Big 12, all 3 by one score. But the big takeaway, I think, Randy, for us to talk about tonight is that Iowa State offense. 1 touchdown in 2 games, just not getting it done. And I don't know, talking about it with you after the game, the search for answers, I think, is going to be very interesting for Iowa State heading into next week and heading into the bye week.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State scored 1 touchdown in its last 140 plays. That's over the last 2 games. That's not bad. That's real bad. That's horrific. Yeah, and I threw out a bunch of possibilities, and assuming that Jyrell Brock's not going to be 100%, in my column I threw out a bunch of possibilities about what they can do, and one of them is the defense. Maybe the defense needs to start scoring touchdowns. I know I say that, halfway jesting, in jest, but the offense certainly is not going to score touchdowns, and Iowa State fans are annoyed. Campbell is Matt was after the game tonight. He was, I don't know even know the right way to put it. He still defends the offense, saying they're close, but I question how close that is actually, because like I said, they 101 touchdown in 140 plays. Yeah, okay, they don't have a healthy Jyrell Brock, and Deion Silas looked decent tonight. He wasn't great. He looked decent. I don't know what you do other than throw the ball to the tight ends, pass on every play. I threw that out there too, because you hand the ball, and how long will those games be? Thank God next Saturday's 11:00 game. I don't know what else you do if Jyrell's not healthy, which he's not going to be. He's not healthy. He doesn't have time to heal up, at least right now, at least. And I don't know what's going on with Cortavius Norton. I don't have any clue. It's gotten to the point where we don't even ask now. So this team's in trouble. This team's in real trouble. And I think that the odds are leaning heavily towards not even reaching a bowl game, because they've got to find 3 more victories in 6 more games. They got to go 3-3 over the last games, and they're already 0-3. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, for the offense, finding answers, I think, is going to be difficult, because there's not going to be a change at quarterback. Like, Dekkers is their guy. And even if you thought that he wasn't their guy, like, have you seen evidence that Hunter Dekkers needs to be benched? I mean, he hasn't been great, but he's been fine. Certainly not lose your job when the guy behind you is a true freshman, and this staff has gone all in on Hunter Dekkers since the end of last year. I don't even think that's a discussion. Jyrell Brock, I think, is a nice back, a good Big 12 running back.
When
but
he's healthy, yeah. Yeah,
but I don't know that, like, the offense should be crumbling if he's not available. Like, I don't think he's that good. I mean, he's not Breece Hall, he's not David Montgomery. This is not an All-American type running back, I don't think, that we're seeing, to where there shouldn't be some level of adjustment that is possible to keep the offense moving along. And then the wide receivers are good. You've got Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Noel, Dimitri Stanley. I think Sean Shaw has had his.
He's made a couple nice catches today.
Yeah, they're not getting much from the tight end position, but I don't know that they're going to. There's obviously not a personnel change you can make there. They're playing 3 tight ends. Like there's not like a 4th tight end, I don't think, that's going to come in and save the day.
Dude, Hanukkah made a catch today. The Russ bus, he made a catch today.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like there's just not like a switch you can make there.
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay.
The switch you can make is to throw the ball to them.
Yeah, so then do you make a tactical change or a strategic change? And I don't know how many cards Iowa State has to play there either. And I mean, obviously, like you score 1 touchdown over 2 games, the frustration is going to be pointed squarely at the offensive coordinator, fair or not. And I mean, I think in this case, it's definitely worth exploring the play calling, the strategy, the game plan, all of that. But for people calling for a change in offensive coordinator, I would remind you that Tom Manning left for the Indianapolis Colts in 2018. And rather than fill arguably the highest profile assistant coaching staff, highest profile assistant spot on staff, Campbell just left it open for an entire year. And when Manning left the Colts, came back to his old job at Iowa State. So I would not anticipate, like, regardless of whether that's even a discussion worth having, it's just not going to be the case.
But
here, even if you were seeing a all-time implosion of that offense, I don't think that conversation would reach reality at the Bergstrom Football Complex.
Which we may be hitting that implosion as far as the running game's concerned. But yeah, Manning's not going anywhere. He's not. And I get it. He's low-hanging fruit. Fans have to vent somewhere, and in the social media world, that's what they do. And again,
it's worth examining what they're doing in that position.
Yes,
no doubt about it.
There's no question. It's
not above criticism.
There's absolutely no question about that, because it's not like they've played 2 defensive juggernauts the last 2 weeks. I think, and I asked Manning about this Thursday night when I talked to him on the Zoom Wednesday night. That I asked him. I said, do we have too many expectations for an offense that lost 4 players, 4 skill position players that are now in the NFL? And he didn't come out and say, yeah, that's true. He can't, but he expressed his faith in the players that they do have. So I think fans have to remember that Brees and Brock and Chase Allen and who am I missing? Charlie Kohler. They're on NFL rosters. Chase is on a practice squad roster, but he's still on the Bears roster. He's on a roster. Dude, this is Iowa State. This isn't Alabama. This isn't Clemson. This isn't Georgia. This is Iowa State. You don't plug and play 4 guys that are now in the NFL. You just don't do it. So I think that's a big part of the problem. But, yeah, this is 6 games in. They ought to be able to figure it out. Let's also remember when criticizing Tom Manning that who was the offensive coordinator when David Montgomery was playing, when Brees was playing, and what are they doing now? They're starting in the NFL. It was Tom Manning. So you get Manning some good players, and they can coach them, and I guess that's probably true with anybody. And I'm not certain the offensive line has played great. And Travis, you were standing there, I think, when we were talking to Jirel after the game, and he was asked, what's it going to take for this offense to get better, and especially the running game. And he said, you were standing there, what did he say? They have more power, more physicality, and that starts up front. And then he said, it goes to the running backs. So it's evident that this offense is not clicking anywhere, but Tom Manning's not the problem.
I mean, I think to me, the issues, you looked at last week and you could see a lot of lack of execution. You could see Hunter Dekkers not really being very accurate at times. You're really getting lucky to get out of that game with just the 1 interception. You had the injury to Jirel Brock during the game, which can haywire your game plan. But I think we saw something different tonight against Kansas State where Hunter Dekkers was not super accurate, but he also didn't throw a pick. He also wasn't playing with fire. I didn't feel like there was a couple like, ooh, Kansas State should have gotten that one. They didn't have a turnover, and they still didn't get the ball inside the 15-yard line once tonight. To me, like there are red lights there where your offense was completely ineffective, not simply because of big glaring mistakes to some degree that we saw last week, the interception. Remember the botched center exchange between Dekkers and Downing on the one that lost 10 yards. This felt like Iowa State, for lack of a better phrase, never got off the ground. And the running game is obviously a big part of that. But to me, this week feels bigger, not only because you didn't score a touchdown, not only because it comes on the heels of last week where you only scored 11 points, but also the fact that it just felt like the offense had zero punch, had zero consistency, and really never felt like it was a major threat to put points on the board against Kansas State. And if not for Jace Gilbert bouncing back admirably from last week, that offense, if his struggles continue, if he's what I think a lot of people probably expected from a true freshman kicker who went out and missed 3 field goals, including a game-tying one, which would be to come out and be inconsistent the next week out. Like, think about how much uglier this looks for Iowa State. But that kid, stepped up in a big way, and I think, commendably. But I don't know I know that does not cover up the major production issues that this Iowa State offense is facing.
No, exactly. And without Jace, have we talked about what Matt Campbell said about Jace after the game? I can't remember. I mean, Matt Campbell after the game, unprompted, it's almost like he wanted to get it out. He was talking about Jace, and he said he made reference to the fact that here's an 18-year-old, he said, who was fried by the fans last week, and that was his terminology. He said he was fried by the fans. Obviously referring to social media. But I think, we do have to remember this kid's 18 years old, and he's following one of the best place kickers that Iowa State's had in a long time, Andrew Mevis. So that's another area. But without him tonight, my God, this would have been uglier than it was. It was interesting. Campbell said that 20 former Iowa State players reached out to get Jace's phone number because they wanted to hit him up after the game. And I know that Brock sent him a very nice letter that I just happened to read. I saw it somewhere online or somewhere. It was very nice.
Sent him a letter like through the mail?
It might have been an email, but it might. Well, he was reading it off of a piece of paper.
Okay. Did he email? He bought a stamp.
He can afford it. But I mean, it was it was a thought-provoking letter, but just what you'd expect from Brock. So, but without him, my God, and let's not forget the defense. I mean, they did a good job against Deuce. They did a good job against Adrian, a great job against Deuce. But although I think he got hurt, he didn't even play maybe the last quarter and a half, or maybe even more than that. And Adrian Martinez, he was not a game changer, obviously. So the defense continued to do the job that it does, and I know this annoys people when I say that, but next up is score touchdowns, because, like I said, the offense is certainly not going to get them, not going to put any points on the board, or they're not going to put points on the board to win a game. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate part, if you're that defense, is you're going to probably not get the credit you deserve, because the offense is going to suck up all the oxygen about where this football team is. But certainly that defense has been great. I mean, how about Will McDonald getting 2 sacks? Now we find out a sack and a half behind the all-time record in the Big 12. You could tell when he got that first one too, a huge outburst of emotion, where I think he'd probably been frustrated by not being able to get that second sack of the season, even though I do think he's played well. He's put pressure on the quarterback. He's played the running game. He's batted down passes, but obviously there's nothing like getting a sack for a defensive end, especially one like him, to disrupt and change the game. And I think for him to be able to get those 2 was a huge boost for him. as you could tell by his celebration.
And like you said, that looked like it gave him a boost because he was jumping around out there like I hadn't seen him jump around all year. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he'll get the record now. I mean, I didn't think there was any problem. I always thought he was going to get it, even the fact that he started out with not as many sacks as what we're accustomed to seeing or what he's accustomed to getting, but he's been double and triple teamed. And I didn't sense I sensed K-State tried to man him up tonight, and he obviously owned that side of the line of scrimmage. That whoever was trying to block him, he certainly owned him. Jyrell's never going to be healthy the rest of the year. I think we can just go along with that and believe that. And Colby Reeder got hurt. He had to be helped off the field. Fourth quarter, third quarter, I don't remember when it was. But and Campbell, he was asked about it after the game, and Campbell didn't know, and said that he'll have more for us on Tuesday in that regard, probably. But excuse me. He walked off the field at least, so that's a start. So I guess we'll see where this team goes forward, and how long the defense continues to be the strength of the team. Anthony Johnson had a wonderful game tonight. So I don't know what. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Kansas State 10, Iowa State 9. Cyclones fall to 3-3 overall for this season. 0-3 in the Big 12 for the first time since Matt Campbell's first season at Iowa State in 2016. Cyclones head to Texas, which beat Oklahoma 49-0 in the Red River Shootout.
How about that?
This week ahead of the bye week. So an important game followed by probably a more important breather, I would imagine, no matter how next Saturday goes. For Iowa State, getting a chance to rest and regroup feels like it's going to be critical for this group, but no rest for Randy and I. Be sure to check out DesMoinesRegister.com and your podcast feeds, wherever you get your podcasts, for plenty of coverage from Iowa State's not only loss to Kansas State tonight on Saturday, but early into next week and next weekend for their game against Texas. He's Randy Peterson. I'm Travis Hines. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.